Right, just before we crack on with this episode, just a quick word about our sponsor, KS Civils and Groundworks Limited, based in Leeds. They have over 296 years of combined experience in civil engineering and groundworks. Led by Director Carl Smith, their team is known for honesty, reliability and commitment to the highest safety and quality standards. They're proudly ISO accredited and fully CHAS Elite accredited. No matter the size of your project, KS Civils and Groundworks delivers professional, trustworthy service you can rely on. To learn more, visit kscivilsandgroundworks.co.uk. Now let's dive back into this episode. Hi, welcome back to today's episode. Today I'm talking to Dr. Simon Lee Maryan. He's an ex-Royal Marine and he's a psychological resilience specialist. Really? Is that?
Yeah, I don't like the word expert. So yeah,
Right.
I specialise in that. Yeah.
From what I understand, and I haven't really looked you up that much, but you've seen some extreme times in your life and been kidnapped 3 times.
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite what you'd call extreme adversity, I think. Yeah.
Stupid is what I'd call it.
Well, I suppose we'll find out about that as we go on. Yeah. And then we can all make our own minds up. Right, so the same questions I'm going to ask you is the same that I ask everybody. So it's, where did you grow up? Just to give us a bit of background about you. Why did you join the military? Why were you so stupid? What was it like?
Yes.
Why did you leave? And I think this is going to be a really interesting side of it. What did you do since? So if you'd just like to start off by giving us a bit of background, like where you grew up and what took you to join the Royal Marines.
Okay. Yeah. So I was born in Plymouth. My dad was a Royal Marine. He was a chopper pilot. So hence he was based at Coypole in Plymouth. And so from there, when my dad left, he did a civvy conversion course and we came up to Shetland. My dad got a job with what was British Airways helicopters at the time in the kind of early mid-70s. And so we started there, and then we came down to Aberdeen and Aberdeenshire. And I started school in Shetland, carried on at a primary school, 2 primary schools, one out in the sticks of Aberdeenshire, then one in Aberdeen, and then my dad got a job with seconded from British Airways to Shell, Brunei. We lived in Brunei, and I went to boarding school in Somerset.
So did you get to go to Brunei as well?
Yeah. Went out to Brunei, but I was toing and froing from boarding school.
I mean, that's like a hard life, boarding school for kids, I think.
It was. Yeah, I mean, there's good sides and there's bad sides to it. There's definitely some pluses. But there was some weird shit that goes on.
I've heard the stories. Tom Brown school days. I don't know. I mean, the way I say it, I say that only from the experience I have of growing up, not being in a boarding school. But some of the guys I've spoke to who spent all their time, boarding school, then military school afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
And then they joined the army, and they don't remember it that fondly because they missed out on family life and stuff like that. And it affected them. I suppose with some people, it can create, resilience, really, for want of a better word.
Well, yeah, it does. It makes you very self-sufficient because we Far East, Middle East, Africa, which hence why I needed to go to boarding school to have stability. Of schooling. I loved it because the sport was fantastic. You played sport every day. You had a Sunday off. Saturday was a half day, and then you'd have a rugby in the rugby, football, cricket, whatever it was a match was in the Saturday afternoon, and then you'd have a Sunday off. But I loved it in that respect. Food was amazing, so it was the structure was very similar to the military. Apart from instead of having a sports make end on a Wednesday, you'd have it on a Saturday. So
it's a lot of people sticking off to the rumours to get their heads down as well.
Oh God, yeah. But still getting caught and getting thrashed for it. So
yeah. So what made you join the military then? Just because your dad was?
A long line of military history. Lots in the Royal Marines from my side of the family. My grandfather was a sapper, commando trained. And yeah, so I've got it's just, I knew from a very early age, I knew that I wanted to join the Royal Marines, and but I didn't take well to what's the word I'm looking for? Fucking hell, discipline, and kind of that whole of, I didn't take well to that at boarding school, and I rebelled, and I got kicked out of 2 boarding schools. Then I went to after that we came back to Aberdeen after being away, and then I went to my last year of school was at the Aberdeen Grammar School, and I didn't get expelled, but I got I had a conversation with the headmaster after knocking out a teacher who tried to hit me in the head with a stick. The little canes he used to wear, mortar and cape, and he tried to hit me with it across the hands because I couldn't understand physics at the time. I just didn't get it. And I was asking the guy next to me, and what the hell's he talking about? Can you explain it? Because he understood it really well. He had a brain for that. He just got it. And eventually he came and said, right, come up here. Put my hand out so he could hit me, and I pulled my hand away 2 times, and then he swung at my head, and instinctively I just ducked and uppercutted him and knocked him out. So then the headmaster of the school called me in and said the next day and said, I think perhaps school is not the best place for you to receive an education. Have you considered going elsewhere? He says, I can't condone what this teacher did, and I can't condone what you did. So, shall we leave it at that? I was like, yes.
What do you do? Yeah, what do you, some people will look at this and go, what, it was caning people? Nowadays, you did.
Yeah.
We got the cane, we got the slipper, and it was just part of, punishment at school. But to say that to someone, you shouldn't be at school, basically, because that's going to make you feel a bit shit inside.
Well, yeah. It was. I was actually quite relieved because I just couldn't wait to get the fuck away from it, to be quite honest. And I'd had a couple of kind of verbal ding dongs with the glorious guidance teachers, the careers guidance, not the guidance teachers, but the careers guidance, who came in and looked, because I left with no qualifications whatsoever from school. And I said, what do you want to do? And I said, these are the things that we think you can do based on your grades and etc. so far. And I was like, no, I know what I'm doing. So really, what's that? I'm going to join the Royal Marines. You'll never do that. I was like, I got up, said fuck you, and walked out. So yeah, that was and then I joined the Royal Marines.
Were you prepared as soon as I could. The Royal Marines? Did you know exactly what was coming? Or?
Well, as much as I could. My dad was in early 60s when he joined, so I had I kind of knew, and I had friends who were had older friends who were looking to join, and I knew other people who had joined, and so I had as much of an understanding as you can get from the outside, I think.
Me personally, when I joined the army, I had 2 brothers that were older than me. One was in the Royal Signals and one's in the Engineers. I wanted to join the Air Corps, like a lot of people in the Air Corps. I don't know why.
Yeah.
We always loved helicopters, but there was such a limited intake for them that I ended up in the artillery, not knowing what the artillery was. To be honest, I didn't really understand what the army did, or what the trainer was going to be like, or anything like that. I just, growing up in Hartlepool, I wanted to get away from there. And with having 2 brothers in the army, I think everyone just expected me to do it, and I just kind of followed along and off I went to join junior leaders. Not really appreciating the gravity of what I'd let myself in for. But I must have liked it because I stayed in quite a long time. So it wasn't that bad. So what was it like when you turned up for training then?
Yeah, Christ. Even I was at a school in Taunton, King's College, Taunton. They had Royal Marines cadets, so I had a good understanding. But holy shit, it's still, you still shit yourself when you get there. Absolutely shit your pants, because it's you know, as a young teenager, it's terrifying, really, because you've got, Jesus Christ, you know, all these blokes with green lids on and big fucking tashes, and you knew all of them were, when I joined, all of them had been pretty much guaranteed. All of them were in the Falklands, you know, and you're like that, and that was a big kind of motivator for me to want to join as well. You know, stoke the fire even more. So yeah, Jesus Christ, yeah, 2 weeks, 2 weeks induction, one big block, 60 odd blokes in one room from varying ages. And that's, you know, 2 weeks, and you had these orange tabs on your epaulets to show that you were in the induction phase, so that, you know, you had a bit of grace, because everyone expected you to screw things up. But as soon as those tabs were off, that was it. You're fair game. You should know better. After 2 weeks, Jesus, yeah.
Come down on you like a barrel of shit then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no quarter given after those tabs come off. No, that's it. You know.
I mean, it's famously one of the hardest courses in the world. You know, the full Royal Marines, you know, the length of it, and you know, I can only compare it to the people I know who've done the All Arms Commandos course. And I'm going to say this, and I hope it's not taken in the wrong way by anyone who's listening. There's, I think, 7 women passed the All Arms Commandos course now.
I think so, something like that.
Yeah. There's no females have passed the Royal Marines course, or, you know, or Royal Marines training. So to me, that kind of shows that there is a slight difference between the two.
I think so. You know, I think I know the All Arms Commando course is no walk in the park.
No, and again, I'm not taking it away from the ladies.
They do genuinely get absolutely thrashed, because you know, the guys in the training team want to make sure that, and they also kind of, you know, right, fucking purse, come on, show us what you got.
I mean, there's a lot of people kind of like, you know, implying, for want of a better word, because women have passed the course, that they've lowered the standards, and I know they haven't, because they just wouldn't. You know, that's never going to happen.
No, and that's, you know, that's why there's as yet there hasn't been a single female that's passed full training. And it's not to say that, you know, I don't think that there's any doubt that at some point someone will.
Oh, yeah, it's only a matter of time, really. Yeah.
You know, because there are you know, there are women in SRR who've passed a phenomenally difficult selection. But it's different. What I do, is it worth, for the number of women that will pass? Is there a justification for the amount of adjustment that's required to cater for such a small percentage of people that will pass, you know, women that will pass?
And I suppose in modern society as well, people are, you know, diversity and stuff like that, you know,
yeah,
it'll imply, well, you know, well, no. I think the majority of civvies forget that our job is to find, fix, and destroy the enemy. It's not to look nice on horse guards or, you know, or whatever. We do have a job, whether we admit that or not. That's what we're there to do, you know. And it takes quite a different type of person to do it, really. You know, we all join the military as young kids and get everything. You get broken down and built back up, you know, and that's the way it is. Whether that's what they're doing nowadays or not, don't know. I suppose they are. They're doing it in a different way because society is different.
Yeah, and training adapts to the needs of the environment you're going to operate in, etc., etc. There's lots of variables, isn't there? Well, the hardest one for me, I found, was the tests was the Tarzan assault course. It's the shortest, but yeah, for me, everyone has one that's that's their nemesis, and that was the biggest pain in the ass for me.
So no bother with the 30 miler and stuff.
30 miler, not bothered at all. The endurance course, I loved the endurance course. 9 miler was a piece of piss. You get in a rhythm, you stop every 3 miles for a wet stop, and then you crack on for another three. And that you get in that rhythm and you plod, and I was quite happy doing that. I found that no problem. But that Tarzan assault course, fucking hell, yeah. That
Just because on the body or
yeah,
scale?
it was. And I had a swollen knee at the time, and I couldn't bend my left leg, which made it a bit more difficult. But even when I was, clean and clear, for me, that was just the one that I just found the hardest by a country mile. Yeah, weird.
Do you think that played on your mind as well? That what made it worse? Or
Oh God, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, without doubt, yeah, yeah. It was fucking hard work because you're blown out your ass for 11 minutes.
I mean, the closest I've ever come to that is they've got like a Trinasium thing at MCTC in Colchester.
Yes,
And we used to have to go on a Friday afternoon to take us from training. Yeah, I did a bit of stint in Collie as well. And we'd go on there and play pirates. And then, one bloke at one end and all the other blokes there, and just fucking bods. I mean, health and safety out of the window completely.
oh,
And
just yeah,
just all these idiots running around, jumping off it, and oh, fucking hell. Thinking back now, it's just like, there's no way they'd get away with it now doing that. We're playing pirates on a big sort of giant climbing frame, basically.
yeah, with a safety net that's quite a long way down.
I don't even think there was one, to be honest.
Is there not? No. Well,
I don't think there
there
is.
was definitely safety nets under the under the Tarzan course.
So where was your first posting after passing the
I
course?
went to 4-2 Commando in Plymouth.
And how was that? Did you? I mean, a lot of people will say that when they turned up at their units, it was quite daunting, just like turning up a training.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because you get to the top of the tree at Lympstone, and then you're straight down at the back of the bottom of the pile. You're just a basic sprog, fuck all. Nobody really speaks to you. Yeah, wasn't necessarily the warmest of welcomes.
I don't think it is for a lot of people. I think I was
No.
quite lucky side of it. I mean, one thing I noticed when I got my unit and that, like all the full screws and the sergeant, they all seem so old.
Yeah, I know.
And they weren't. Looking back now, I'm 57 next month. Looking back, they were kids type of thing. I look at someone who's like 30-odd-year-old now. But then, they all seem so old.
Yeah.
One question I've got for you about that is, so you mentioned there about the guys who've been down the Falklands. And I've spoken to guys in the paras and stuff like that, and they've said them guys who were down there stood out from everybody else. They were either fucking mental or they wouldn't talk to anyone. But they were a different league, especially like talking to guys in the paras and that. Except these guys were just in a different league. They were mad. Did you get that idea from that as well?
Yeah, there was I won't name any names, but there was a corporal in training who lost his shit with somebody and beat the shit out of him because he handed him his weapon, but as he handed it to him, he swung the muzzle under his nose, and the guy just snapped and just
Yeah. You can understand it as well. I mean, I don't think there was as much. Well, there wasn't any fucking decompression for them or
no. I mean,
back. I mean, it wasn't for us when we joined. So it must have been.
I mean, 2 days in Cyprus.
Yeah.
2 days in Cyprus on the piss doesn't really cut it, does it?
No, it doesn't. And I'm lucky enough that I never went to Afghan. I was too old and fat by then. But talking to the guys who've done the decompression in Cyprus, they just said it was a complete and utter waste of time. Just a lot of beer, go and fill each other, crack on.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
It is what it is, I suppose. But it's, we don't make these rules. So what was it like serving with the Royal Marines and where did you get to go? And
I did the usual. I did Northern Ireland, Bosnia, did jungle warfare in Brunei, Belize, did Norway. Where else did I go? Trips on board ships. I did a Caribbean and a Mediterranean, and got trips to the States. Depends on what you're on. I mean, I've been on Fearless. Fearless was great. Fearless was good.
I got told once that the Royal Marines on the aircraft carriers lived underneath the ramp at the front of the ship. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I was trying to remember.
So them years ago.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is it's the hazy mists of time now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I don't. You know, it was good to do because it was a bit different. But I was always glad to get off and go and do what we were going to do, and whether it's an exercise or an op or whatever, it doesn't matter. Either way, it was glad to get off, but then equally, you're always glad to get back on again because you're buggering off somewhere nicer.
Especially the Caribbean.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it was kind of mixed feelings. I have a lot of good memories of being aboard ship. It's good fun, especially Fearless. There's a lot of shenanigans used to go on at the quarterdeck at night.
That we're not allowed to talk about. Yeah, I can imagine.
Well, no, because the thing, no, allegedly happened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
allegedly. I mean, they do a thing where they go across the equator. Is that
yes,
about that? Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I've
Yes,
seen it on some TV program where they're all dressed up, and I mean, I don't know.
you have to pay your respects to Neptune. Yeah,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
yes.
Interesting. So, I mean, was your first tour in Northern Ireland, or was it?
Yes,
So, I mean,
yeah,
I suppose you were quite a young age then as well.
yeah. I was. Yeah, that was. It's Christ, you hear all sorts before you get, and you see, growing up and seeing all the stuff on the news in the late 70s into the 80s and stuff, and it was, you think fucking hell, and then when you actually land there and you bit deer in the headlights for the first few, well, I guess for the first week, maybe 2 weeks, while you kind of getting the lie of the land and getting yourself settled and getting into a routine and knowing your area, it's nerve-wracking first time. Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people I've spoken to have said that's what kind of made them really. So in that period of time, there wasn't a lot happening around. There was, I mean, in the artillery. In the mid '80s, we were lucky if we got an emergency tour, and then it started opening up more. The batteries were going over, regiments were going over, and there were 6-month tours and stuff like that. And it was these first tours of like Northern Ireland that it was the closest you were going to do to your job at the time. So it kind of
Yes.
like bolstered you up and made you. I wouldn't say made you a man, but it felt good because you were doing what you'd been trained to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you couldn't let your guard down because they were a formidable enemy.
But yeah, and they weren't shit either. Even though I haven't got many real. I haven't got any good words to say about them, but it's an odd subject because you could end up talking about it for many hours, and there's different sides to every story and stuff like that. So I mean, coming back from Ireland, and going back to the units and stuff like that, you kind of feel as though you were, like you're saying, you not made it, but you'd grown.
Yeah, cut your teeth was the term that was used.
Yeah.
I think. So yeah, you kind of, and you don't feel like a sprog anymore because you've got an operational tour under your belt.
Yeah, I must admit, it feels good to get that first medal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you get called at the Sergeant Major's office and he just says, "Here you go," and then right, well, fuck off.
I'm trying to remember. Actually, we did it in the Battery Bar. It was a Friday afternoon, so it was a piss up, and the Battery Commander was just basically, it was just that one here, oi, and throwing it at you.
Yeah.
If you caught it, you caught it. If not, yeah, I think that's how we got. And then after that was those parades and stuff like that. Bollocks.
Yeah.
Don't need all that shit.
No,
So,
never
I
had
mean,
any of those parades and stuff.
Yeah, you mentioned you went to Bosnia. How did you find that?
Fucking horrible. Yeah. Yeah, I think I definitely saw the worst of humanity there.
Yeah, and the weird thing for me is it's probably the only tour I've been on that actually affected me years later. And I don't know why, really, but it did. But what annoys me now about it is that it's forgotten about. I taught the kids at work. I say kids at work; they're both like early 20s. And if I mention something about the Bosnia, they've got no clue what I'm on about. And it seems it seems really sad that something like that happened in Europe. I mean, obviously we've got Ukraine going on now, which is a different kettle of fish. But you had, Bosnia, Kosovo, and it's just largely forgot about.
Yeah, it is. It's and it was horrendous, actually.
Yeah, and it's affected so many people's lives as well. So how long did you end up doing with the Marines then, Royal Marines?
Well, I left in about 13 years.
So what made you decide to leave then?
I got medically discharged.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about that? Was it?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I managed to, I managed to. Well, it's a dual thing here. My stupidity and my over enthusiasm of youth caught up with me, so I got injured I managed to catch a bit of shrapnel in my shoulder, and then I thought I could continue playing rugby.
Right, okay.
And it didn't work.
Interestingly, I want to know about the shrapnel. What happened?
I managed to catch a little bit in Bosnia. Yeah.
Right, okay. I mean, because I know we both, alluded to there how bad it was over there, but generally, I wouldn't say it was quite safe for the majority of people. But it kind of was for a lot of soldiers. There wasn't much conflict for the UN or anything like that. So can you talk about what happened there?
Yeah, so it's heading into, this was 96, heading into Srebrenica, and this stretch of road was a little chicane in the road, and this stretch of road, I don't know who else was in this convoy that the Serbs were pissed off with, but they started lobbing mortars over the hill or hills onto this stretch of road. There was obviously somebody that they didn't want, that they had a grudge with.
Fucking everyone, remember?
Well, yeah, you take a pick, but yeah. And it seemed to change week by week as well. As you know, fuck me sideways. And it just, so I managed as a kind of debussing, trying to get out into the lee of the hill as these things were ranging over. Because they DF'd this bit of road really nicely, actually. Give. Fair play. And it just, and I managed to catch a bit as I exited the vehicle, and it was only a little bit. It didn't take much.
It's all it takes, isn't it? Yeah, it's only a little.
Yeah. Do you know what hurt more though? The door of the vehicle smashed me in the face, and that hurt more than this. I didn't realise this had happened until because it fractured my cheekbone and busted my nose, and fuck. When you get that, when you get really heavy smash to the head, and you get the weird smell and taste, and then I was like. I was just buzzing. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't know which way my arse pointed, to be fair.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Fucking concussed and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned that, you mentioned that place, Srebrenica, and fucking hell. And I kind of said there about, there wasn't that much conflict for the UN troops. There wasn't so many lost. There was enough, don't get me wrong, but there was certain places that, fuck me, like you say, I mean, you've seen the worst of humanity. Srebrenica was the worst of humanity. It really was. I was quite lucky on my first tour. We were up in Mount Igman in '95 when they changed, when the UN took the blueberries off and put the dark blueberries on. And the guns started firing, and then the aircraft went in, and the Serbs went, "Oh fuck no! Don't do that! Oh, fuck off! We'll do what we want." Bang! Don't do that! No, we won't do it. It took that to stop it, basically. But Srebrenica and places like that, the enclaves that were cut off, it was genocide.
Yeah, I mean, what happened there in '95 was just, it reeks of World War II and what some of the, what the Germans, the Nazis did.
Yeah. I mean, I say you mentioned the people that was concentration camps in Europe in the '90s, and people just look at you as though stupid. They're just like, well, there were there. There were. So you were medically discharged due to being an idiot, like you said, and carrying on playing rugby and that.
Yeah. So I left in '99, and then I'd made inroads, and I had a conversation with actually a gentleman I knew from a former officer in the Marines who'd gone to the dark side, and I ended up working in doing human intelligence. I went to that side of things and started working in that field. I just seemed, and it's weird, you look back at your life, and it's only the last few years I've thought about this as to kind of why I think I gravitated towards that and had a knack for it. I think boarding school had a lot to do with it. So traveling a lot.
But isn't that where the two big ones recruit from? Is mainly boarding, or it used to be.
Yeah, universities and boarding schools. Yeah, so I had a knack for making friends with people very quickly in order to ingratiate myself with a new community. So I had that skill set to build rapport quickly, bit of tactical rapport building, tactical empathy. And I had a knack for convincing people to do things.
Gavin Stone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I interviewed him last week, and he opened my eyes a little bit, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, that was quite an interesting one. And I know a couple of guys who have done Op Samson, and obviously they can't tell us what they did or where they've been or anything like that, but they've alluded to a few things. And yeah, it's I can imagine it's been quite an interesting field to work in. Also very boring as well.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, most of it's boring.
Yeah. I mean, can you talk about any of the places you went, or is?
Yeah. So Cambodia, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Chad, Sudan, Somalia, Sierra Leone. Where else?
All the nice places, then, eh?
Oh yeah, all the great touristy destinations.
What was the worst?
Worst.
Or shall I rephrase that? What was the most heart clenching place?
See, this is I have people who have very different opinions to me to Afghanistan. I didn't enjoy Afghanistan. I didn't feel comfortable there at all, and I didn't feel comfortable with the locals that I worked with.
Not trusting.
Iraq, I did. I had a fucking great time in Iraq.
I think most people like me, who are not in that line of work, kind of like put Iraq and Afghanistan, put the people together, and they're not very different cultures and people.
Massively different.
I mean, I wouldn't like to say I'd like to go out of Iraq and work, but I've heard people say really, really good things who've worked out there as doing logistics, not just like CP work and stuff like that. But in that work that you were doing, I mean, fucking hell.
It was great. I loved it because I mean, the beauty of working as a contractor for that line of work is you get mobbed and demobbed, so it frees you up to do other things. So I split my time between that and the circuit. So I went all over the place.
But you preferred the human insights, doing like CP work and stuff like that.
Yeah. That was a much better job as a contracting. As a contract, the organisations that I contracted to for the human side were much more reliable than the security companies that contracted me for work.
I mean, at the beginning of it all, everyone was leaving the military.
Yep.
Special forces were leaving, the paras were leaving, the Royal Marines were leaving, just to go out and do the CP work, really.
Yep.
Because it was big money.
It was to start with.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, they're starting to, they couldn't keep up with the contracts, they're dropping the money, bringing in people who weren't qualified, that type of thing. I interviewed Mick Hawkes last night, and he was on about, he's fucking mental.
Mick, what an absolutely top bloke.
Yeah, he honestly, nearly 3 hours we were on it together.
Yeah,
very, very interesting guy. But he was on about it. He's had to train people up who just couldn't make. He was mentioning he had to do a course where they had like 30 Iraqis on it, and they were
Hmm.
supposed to train them up to like CP work, and he failed every one of the course. And the company was like, well, you can't. They can't do the job. You know, you're expecting somebody who hasn't had military training, or even like, not even, you know, like getting chefs and bottle washers in to do CP work. It's not really the way to do it, type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you've got to work with what you've got, really, haven't you? And it's you've got to shift your expectations of how far you're going to upskill people.
Yeah. And if they haven't got the experience, you've got to feel safe with them. And if you don't feel safe, you're not doing a fucking job. Simple as that.
Well, no, 100%, not in an environment like that. No.
So what was Somalia like in Sudan? Because I know, Sudan's, people don't realise, but it's quite naughty there.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's been long enough now that I've done this thing, but I used to sneak across the border through Chad into North Darfur. That was the way I used to go. So I was never directly in. I'd make my way in through the northwest of the country on the border with Chad.
Bloody hell. I mean, you couldn't fly in, could you? I've heard stories about that, where people couldn't just directly enter the country because of what they were doing.
Yeah, it was a bit. If you couldn't fly into the capital, it would be a bit. They'd be all over you like a rash. So, and most of the stuff I was doing wasn't in the capital anyway. My job was to gather intelligence from and through the what they call the anti-government rebels.
Yeah. But I mean, how would you go about that?
Well, I met with the rebel leader in the capital of Chad, in N'Djamena.
Jesus.
So I met him at a hotel there, and basically, what can we?
Smooth.
Basically, the end of but just chatting away. And said, "Listen, this is what I'm here to do. How can I help?" And he said, "Well, what do you need from me in order to help me?" And I gave him a wish list, and then went out to far east, the eastern side of Chad. On the border, there's some UN compounds, camps on the near refugee camps. That's the word I was looking for. And so I went out to this UN camp and made my liaison with a chap who gave me weapons and ammunition and various other bits and pieces, and then introduced them the next day. Took me across the border to meet the rebels. Then went off with them and trogged off around North Darfur and gathered as much intelligence as I could about them and where and how and what the government forces were doing.
How long did you do this for?
I did from when I left in 1999 to 2008.
That's a fair old stint then.
Yeah. Looking back on it, and I loved it at the time until 2005 when my son was born.
Yeah, but that's going to make you look at life in a different way straight away.
And it was like a switch was flicked.
And I take it was during this period that the 3 kidnappings happened.
Yeah, so my son was born in 2005. I was working in Iraq. I got IED'd in Iraq twice before he was born. Came home and I think that was the last time. Did I go back to Iraq after that? I think I went back. No, I think I went to because it was left Iraq because it was too dangerous and went to Afghanistan and Nigeria.
Yeah. Ooh, Nigeria. And then that's another place. Sorry, before you start talking about the kidnapping, Nigeria. Again, we think nothing going on, but there's stuff going on everywhere in Africa.
Yeah, there is. And I did the hat trick. I got kidnapped 3 years on the bounce, 2006, 7, and 8. Twice in Nigeria and then once in Sweden, the last one.
I wasn't expecting that last one.
No, I get that a lot.
I'm like, well, hang on a minute.
Yeah, trust me, I wasn't fucking expecting it either.
Fair one.
Yeah, that was.
So come on then, tell us about the kidnappings. Then I've got to know. I'm leaning in now as well.
So the first one. Fucking hell! It's just it's weird looking back because The first one is surreal because you get the shocker capture because you get a dozen large Nigerian gentlemen with AK-47s. 3 or 4 of them had GPMGs with fucking belts wrapped around them. And when you're unarmed, it's a very persuasive argument to do as you're told. So then get bundled into, it was on a ship, bundled into a boat in the middle of the night, me and one other guy, honking Hessian sack over your head, stinking of diesel, face down in the bottom of a wooden skiff, bouncing up fucking water, so your face is bashing off, your body's bashing off the bottom of this fucking boat as they're speeding off as quickly as they can, taking you to fuck knows where in the swamps of the Niger Delta.
Jeez.
So eventually we stopped. They stood us up, got us on dry land, and then took the sacks off. And then from scaring the shit out of us, then going, look, guys, we're not going to hurt you. We kidnapped you for 2 reasons. We're going to ransom you for money because we need money for our people, and also to make a political statement because the government are raping us for money, and the oil companies are ruining our land and not fulfilling their promises to us, and so we're like, yeah, right, okay, whatever. So they put us in a hut, gave us mattresses, a bed sheet, mosquito nets, malaria tablets, gave us 3 meals a day, and this is the bizarre bit. This is where it becomes like an 1830. Is they gave us beer to drink because it was cheaper to give us the beer than it was to buy water. So they're saving water for everybody else, and they were giving us. Nigeria has a beer called Star Beer, and it's a really horribly chemically brewed thing.
Right. Okay.
And it was warm, so we're drinking warm beer for 9 days. So we're just constantly topping up.
I shouldn't be laughing, but it does.
Yeah, I know. It was not what I expected. Trust me.
No, I mean, fucking hell. So they were good to the word, though, that they weren't going to hurt you.
They were. Didn't believe them at first, for the first couple of 3 days. So went into the routine of making yourself as human as possible, trying to make yourself useful. Ended up playing football with the kids, helping prepping food, cleaning and servicing their weapons because they were in a shit state. And my OCD was like, I can't not leave that. So I said, like, unload your weapons, take the rounds out your magazine. I'll do them one at a time, and I cleaned them up and oiled them and sorted them out and got them and zeroed their weapons for them and all that sort of shit. So I made sure I was useful and they didn't want to kill me.
It's almost like Stockholm syndrome, ain't it? Jesus.
Yeah. Just the more human and likable and you can make yourself, the better your chances of survival. And there was no point in running away because I had no idea where I was. And it's too far away from bloody Lagos. Niger Delta's a big area and there's a lot of bandits in there. So you just go from one shitstorm to another.
Do you think through that initial experience of let's say, the first kidnap, did you find sympathy with your kidnappers because of not only the way they treat you, but what was happening to them as well?
Yeah, I did. I did actually, because seeing where they live and how their land has been, destroyed and polluted, and how little money they get from the oil companies, and how little the oil companies do to repair the damage that they've caused. And the Nigerian government's corrupt up the yin yang. They're shysters. Far worse than us.
I think every, we all, or maybe I'm generalising here, but I think nearly every African country's corrupt. I mean, I'm generalising, and it's a bit of a, but I do believe, from what I understand, it is, and it's, we had the proxy wars in the 60s in the Congo and places like that, and now the only proxy war that's going on over there is probably between China and Russia.
Yeah.
Because we've washed our hands of it, and America's washed their hands of the African continent, and it's China who's vying
Oh
for
yeah,
the,
they're
and
yeah
they're
they
winning. They just walk in and go, here's a couple of $1 billion, we'll build you some roads, a couple of hospitals, do you want an airport? We want only minerals. And they're like, yeah, fine. And that's
yeah
the
they're
game
buying
they
all the
do.
mines.
Yeah, it's fucking scary.
It is.
So what was the second time then?
So the second time was very different. Similar experience with the kind of shock of capture thing, but I was kind of, I knew the script at this point, so I was like, oh, fuck, really, not again. And then this one was very different from the outset. There was a different vibe about it, and they had a different manner. And it turns out the first lot were a part of the movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta. So they were more of a political movement, whereas this lot were just scumbag criminals. So we got shoved in a hut, me and 4 others. It was just very different. There was no engagement, no nothing. We got one small plastic bottle of water a day, 1 meal a day, a very small meal a day, and then it lasted 35 days this time, and after 3 weeks they were getting really pissed off that they weren't getting their money, so they started taking it out on us, and they would take us out one at a time and give us a kicking, and then throw them back, and then a few hours later they'd come and grab somebody else and kick the fuck out of them, and then so that went on for a few days, and then it went on to they were getting more drugged up and pissed up as they weren't getting paid, and they started to kind of ramp it up. The more drunk they got and drugged up they got, the angrier they got, and the freer they got with their with their emotions, and they started doing mock executions. But what made me chuckle, well, after the first click, was that with the AKs, sometimes they'd come out and they wouldn't have a magazine on the weapon, so you're just hoping that it's just that dead man's click the first time, because then everyone's fine until this fucking idiot has had his fun and buggers off to get another drink or another top up of drugs or whatever and passes out. But that happened a few times, and then the bit in hindsight that was the scariest was getting beaten with the flat side of a machete.
Oh,
because the state they're in. So just a slight twist of the wrist, and you'd lose an arm, or you'd get your head fucking cut off or whatever. So I didn't like that very much. And they were doing they just ramped things up. They dug a hole in the ground that was about 6-7 foot deep, and they'd tie your hands behind your back, tie your feet together, and stick you in the hole, head down, and then use it as a toilet for a few hours, and then drag you out and then stick somebody else in.
how would you keep sane when that's happening?
Little mind games, just find a spot you can stare at, and can you make shit? Can you identify faces of shapes of faces or animals or whatever in the wall of this fucking thing as it's just while they're shitting on you and pissing on you, and
Fucking hell.
delightful people.
I don't know what to say. I mean, obviously, the first one you could have given a Yelp review to. This one, definitely not.
Well, they got a glowing review on TripAdvisor, the first lot. Yeah.
So how did you get out of it? I mean, was it the company you were working for, or?
It was eventually, yeah. Again, it's just kind of day 35. Just right, get in the boat. Where we were, we must have been in a similar area to where we were the first time, or where I was the first time, because there's the capital of Bayelsa State in the heart of Niger Delta is a town called Yenagoa. It's on the river. Excuse me. We appeared this. I was like, fuck me, I know that place. It was weird. I was like, Jesus, it's just bizarre. Basically cross-decked from one boat to another. Bag of money went into their boat, and we just, rather than wave goodbye, we were like, fuck off, you wankers.
The relief must have been intense.
Oh, huge.
I mean, did you get any answers to why it took them so long, or?
Not really, no. But what was interesting is when we got to the jetty, there was a little beach just to the left of the jetty that we were on, and there were government officials, there were national government officials, there were state, there were local, there were police, army, and navy divvying up money from a bunch of bags, and there was only one bag went into the boat that we got cross-decked from. So most of that ransom money went to all the corrupt officials.
And again, I mean, we touched on earlier about how corrupt. I mean, I don't want to sugarcoat it because I can't. It's a corrupt continent, and power breeds corruption.
100%. Yeah, it does.
It's different mentality, different ethos, different. It's like with I think the old movie Blood Diamond, when they said what happens in Africa is Africa.
Yeah, TIA.
Yeah. I've spoken to many South Africans who've moved over to the UK, and the reason they've moved over is that it's getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
Getting worse, especially in South Africa. One of my I wouldn't say one of my greatest interests, but one of my things that I'm really fascinated about is Rhodesia. The rise and fall of Rhodesia. And I've read a few books on that, and yeah, everyone says the colonial powers were bad. And I'm not convinced that we were that bad. We did some.
Yeah, it was different times, and we operated in different ways. But the powers that be now in those countries are far worse.
Yeah.
At least we had.
I think, yeah.
You bring civilization. It takes a little bit of welly to bring in civilization, to kind of corral people and get people on the same page. Not saying it was the right thing to do or that it was done in the right way, but it brought structure and civility and democracy, and that's gone.
Yeah, it really has. Well, I mean, I can't personally, talk about that because I've not been there. But from what I've seen and what I've read, that it's gone down the pan quite a lot. Let's say. So the third time you said, I want you to say it again. So where was the third one?
Sweden.
Yeah. I'm just like, hang on a minute.
Yeah. So I was on a job in Sweden, looking after, working with a Swedish guy who works with the boss of an Icelandic financial institution. And there was some involvement of ultimately Russian mafia, and they wanted money quicker in the cycle than they were getting it.
Fucking hell.
So they'd put surveillance team out on this chap, and this was in the islands east of Stockholm, long way east, close to towards the Finnish border, Finnish-Russian border, and it was so he'd spotted, because we'd trained him up with his surveillance detection and anti-surveillance and some counter-surveillance stuff. So so he told me, so I came out and did surveillance, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then as I was doing yeah, good effort, well done, excellent, good student. And then, so when I was checking around the back of this house in this little spot, I noticed at the car park at the bottom of the road there was a cafe, and there were some garages, and there was a couple of vehicles that were not normally there. It was normally empty car park. There was a couple of vehicles there and a van. So I parked in front of the garages, and I went up into the woods around the back of his house. And as I was walking around the back of his house, getting close to it, the lights shining from the back of the house illuminated a couple of figures in the woods, just at the back of the garden in the trees. So I was like, fuck, right. So I went quiet as I could, get back down to my car, got on the phone to the office and said, look, this is what's happening. Need to get him the fuck out. He needs to the evac plan now. And as I'm on the phone, this van pulls up in front of me, screeches to a halt. 4 guys get out, all with MP5s. And I'm unarmed. I can't be armed in Sweden. Tap on the window, tell me to come out. I get out, and they, just give me a good ragging, take my jacket off me, kick the shit out of me, take my phone off me, stamp on it, and then take me to the back of the van and throw me in. So 2 guys get in the front, 2 guys get in the back with me, and I had spidey senses tingling all over the place. I knew that they didn't tie me, cuff me, they didn't hood me, they didn't cover their faces. So I think this is a one-way trip. So I knew which direction they went, so I knew we were heading back towards Stockholm. But I didn't know where we were going to go. I just knew I was going to get killed. So the only thing I could think of was I was, in these big transit vans, there was like a bench over the wheel arch. So sat on these side benches. There's a guy between me and the back door. There's a guy between me and the cab, although it's closed. It's a sealed back. You can't access the cab. Both with weapons, and the guy to my right between me and the door, his weapon is tapping me against my leg. So I just gradually adjusted my feet, so my right foot was against the bulkhead of the wheel arch. Shuffled my left foot forwards, and just I had my head down, so I was just not engaging, and I was trying to get as much saliva in my mouth as possible. And when I felt I had enough, I grabbed the muzzle of the weapon of the guy to my right, straight armed it out of the way, lunged forward, spat everything I had in my mouth in the face of the guy opposite, rammed him against the door, flicked the lever, and it opened because they hadn't locked it. We fell out into the road. I landed on him, and I heard the back of his head hit the deck, and I heard it pop. So I rolled. I'd already had my nose broken and my cheekbone bust again, and a few bust ribs. The roll, I dislocated my shoulder again, twisted my knee. I didn't dislocate it, but I twisted it and damaged the ligaments. So I then hobbled into the woods because I obviously screeched to a halt. This is mid-March in Sweden, so there's snow everywhere. It's snowing. It's dark. It's about 9:30, 10 at night. So I hobbled into the woods, and in the woods, the pine trees, they're done in little plough troughs like that in the woods. So the trees run, and then so I hobbled in about 50, 60 meters, then did a dog leg back for another 50, 60 meters, laid in one of these troughs and pulled loads of stuff over me and just laid there. Because there was still traffic going up and down the road. So I was pretty sure that they wouldn't want to hang about too long, but I didn't want to take any chances. I heard them looking around. I could see torches flashing around. But then, and I heard cars going up and down the road, and there's this guy with the contents of his head in the snow, and I heard him get him in the back of the van, and then they buggered off. But I waited. I waited for about 2 hours in the snow to make sure that they were gone.
Fucking hell. When we started this conversation, I was not expecting that.
I didn't expect that night either. That was
bit of an understatement, yeah.
Yeah, that was...
I mean, how did you recover from that? I mean, how did you get... You've climbed out of your fucking your own shallow grave, let's say.
Yeah, no, I made it back it took me a while to hobble back to the car because I wanted to see if they'd taken the car. At least then there was civilization there. At least I knew I could have knocked on somebody's door and asked if I could phone the police, or at least phone the office. But the car was there. I always had a spare key, so I'd secured that underneath the chassis. So that was there, and I drove back into Stockholm, got into my flat, Skyped the office, told them the situation. They said he'd bugged out. He'd run the emergency evac plan, and he would be in, and that he was at a particular hotel in Stockholm. I can't remember which one it was now. And I was to go and meet him there. So I packed up everything from the flat, left the car there. It was the hire car. I got speeding fine flashed through about 3 different cameras because on the way back into Stockholm I was doing about 160, 170k.
Understandable.
Flying in, and then met him in a hotel, stayed the night in the same room as him, and then we got a flight back to. There was a team appeared at Stockholm airport, and we flew back to London the next day.
So what was there any outcome from that? I mean, did it get reported to the police or anything like that?
Well, it's confirmed that it was Russian mafia. So yeah.
Oh, fucking hell! I mean, Jesus. Have you ever had, a daft question? Really? I mean, of all these things that have happened to you, and I mean, you've probably missed out so much that we could have been here all night. Really, it's got to have affected you, and I don't
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was driving to work today, and I thought of something because there was someone mentioned on the radio, right? And it's all about mental health, right? And with what I do on the podcast, we end up discussing mental health a lot. Right? And I don't know. I had this thing in my mind, and I don't know how to put this without sounding like a knob, right? Right. I think the words. It's getting to a point where the words mental health and mental well-beingness is bandied around so much that it's losing its impact on people. Everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. Everyone's saying, which is, don't get me wrong, it's a good thing. But I think it's coming to a point where everyone's saying it, everyone's doing it, and a majority of these people who are doing this are doing it for themselves. They're saying we support mental health, we do this for that. And I'm not on about workplaces and stuff like that. I'm on about social media and things like that. You're on TikTok. You'll see a lot of people who will attach themselves to stuff that you're saying for their own kudos type of thing.
Yes.
And like I said, I didn't want to sound like a knob, but I thought of that this morning, and I'm thinking more and more about it. And there's a lot of people who are doing it, which kind of like overshadows the real struggle, if that's one of a better explanation.
It is because there's a lot of virtue signaling with the mental health banner for sure, and there are people that say they're involved in mental health and they shouldn't be because they haven't got any training or qualifications or experience or insurance to be doing things like that. And if you haven't got the insurance and something happens, it's going to bite you in the arse really with very big fucking teeth. And I do have a great people saying, "Oh, I've got mental health." Well, of course you fucking do. But which end of the spectrum are you on? Be specific. Is your mental health good, bad, or somewhere in the middle? And having mental health doesn't mean it's bad. Mental health means is a sliding scale. It's a spectrum. Where are you on that?
I mean, like we were talking to before we started recording, and you just said there, people giving the wrong advice. I'm always terrified of that. I really am, because I'm not a fucking counsellor, and yeah, you say the wrong thing, you push the wrong button, and
yeah, with the best of intentions.
Oh yeah,
and and it can happen. Look, trust me, it can happen. No matter how experienced you are, you can say the wrong thing to someone and send them into a complete shitstorm, because you've said something that you didn't know was going to actually have that impact on that person. So it can happen to the best of us,
So I mean, how quick was it with you? I take you packed in once your son was born, and after the third kidnap, I'd be like, I know, I want to be a milkman.
Yeah, I mean that's why I live in the arse end of nowhere, a little bit antisocial.
Fucking no wonder. Every time my doorbell would ring, I'd be like, no. It's definitely a case for a ring camera for you, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I've got front back. Yeah.
You know, I mean, all right. Before we move on to like what you do now and stuff like that, and the journey that got you there, um, do you still fear? I wouldn't say live in fear, but have a fear of because of what you used to do. Is it still a threat to you? Do you think sometimes?
At this stage of the game, I don't think so. I think if something was gonna rear its ugly head, it would have done by now.
So we're not looking at slow horses then. So we're all right.
No, I don't.
I
What a show, though.
know
Gary
it's.
Oldman is just phenomenal.
Don't tell anyone, but I downloaded them to watch them, and it's sat on my computer downstairs waiting for me. When I finish this, I'm going down to watch that. So yeah, no,
Good
watch.
man.
I asked Gavin Stone about it. I says, "Oh yeah, so it's like slow horses." And he went, "I've got all these books." I was like, "Fucking hell, what are they training manuals?"
Yeah, it's
I mean, it's good
yeah.
that you're not that you don't feel in any that's immediate danger type of thing.
No, I mean there was a period where for sure, yeah.
I mean, retaliation from them interested guys in Sweden, I suppose. So I mean, so you've moved away from that area, and what got you to where you are now? Because it's like a separate life. You've lived the action man type thing, and I'd imagine where you are now, and without knowing, I'm just guessing and surmising now. To get where you are now, you've gone through something that made you want to seek it. Like you had again. Let's not use the mental health word. You've you suffered.
Yeah, no, I got all my qualifications through the Royal Marines. I joined with nothing. I didn't realise the purpose and the benefit of having qualifications till I joined, and then I needed to get up the ranks and to do what I wanted to do. And I was, I knuckled down and I got my shit together, and I got O levels and A levels. Then I did a degree in sports psychology. So that was the start of my psychological training. And then I did a master's in behavioural, and then with human stuff. Obviously, it's all my job was the way the job was described to me my job was to convince people to do things that they didn't even know they didn't want to do. So that was how this chap framed things for me. So it's very psychologically driven. Obviously for good reasons, because it's all manipulation. It's just the intent behind the use of it that's good or bad
Yeah, yeah.
for
So
the
I mean,
end user.
what you do now is not too different to that, really.
No, it's not really at all. No, I'm still helping to manipulate people psychologically to open their minds to other possibilities that are beneficial for them rather than to fuck them up.
Yeah. Unless they upset you. Yeah. Oh, fucking hell.
So when I was leaving, I was losing my job, my home, and my marriage was going up Swanee at the same time. So I had three big things going at the same time. So I didn't realise and for various other things I didn't realise when I left I had PTSD.
I mean,
No
if
idea.
anyone's going to have PTSD, it's going to be you.
It wasn't until about 4 years after I left.
You know that is the amount of times I've heard that between
Yeah,
4 and 5, 6 years
yeah.
after you've left the situation, after you've left the military or the job that or whatever caused it. When you're away from it, it takes that amount of time. I mean, why is that?
Because you know, we have the discipline, the self-discipline to crack on and make the best of a new kind of direction in life, or a new focus, and we make the best of it. But then you knuckle down, head down, arse up, get on with it, and then there's a period where you come up for breath and you're like, "Fuck, am I doing? Where am I? Who am I? What am I? Why am I here? What the fuck am I doing?" And at that point, during that wobble, you either go, "Oh, right, okay, actually, this is pretty cool." Back down you go, or you go,
I mean, the thing is, there's no rhyme or reason the way it affects people either.
"No, no, no, no." No, it's there are common threads, but how you experience it yourself is that's your own experience for sure. So I had a wobble about 2003, 4, and then I had a big one in 2016. And that was, well, in fact, I'd had one in 98. I was within a split second of pulling a trigger, but a friend of mine rang the doorbell. I was sat on my sofa with a pistol barrel in my eye socket, because the year before a friend of mine had tried to kill himself by sticking a pistol in his mouth, pulled the trigger, and he survived. And I thought, well, I'm not gonna do that. I'll stick it in my eye socket, because then I can't fucking miss.
Fucking hell. Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't. I had dark thoughts last year, and I don't want to go over them again because everyone listening to podcasts have heard my stories so many times that they'll be like that. Shut up, fucking hell, shut up, Frankie. You've said it again. But I was speaking to a guy last year. Oh, sorry, in the summer. And I won't mention his name, but if he listens to this, he'll know who he is because he had a bad time, and he was committed to taking his own life, but he did it in an interesting way. That he planned it all meticulously, and it was fucking interesting what he was going to do. But in every part of this plan for him to do it, there was a get out clause.
Yeah.
He was, and I'll say what he was going to do, and should I? Yeah, he won't mind. He was going to get in his car, reverse up to a tree, tie a wire rope round the tree, and then round his neck, and then drive off at high speed. So it just decapitate, but at every point of him planning that, there was a get out clause for him. Like he would have had to go to B&Q by the wire. He'd have had to plan the route, and at every point there was the saying that's wrong word, but the other side of his brain that was saying you shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
But, and as I found that when I was in the bad space or in having the bad thoughts, it was almost like OCD was taking over me.
Yeah.
And that part of the OCD brain where I've left the gas on, you've went out the door, stuff like that, was stopping me thinking of something else, which is your brain protecting you. So, I mean, it is an amazing thing, your mind, but it can also be a very dark, scary place as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And it's remarkably peaceful. Once you've made that plan and you know what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and how you're going to do it, it all goes quiet.
It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what made you push towards getting your doctorate and everything then?
Well,
apart from all that.
Well, apart from all that, just I was, the human side just really, I'd been doing some things that I didn't think, especially, and it all changed. That switch flicked in my head when my son was born, and then when my daughter was born. My daughter was born just after I got back from that second kidnapping. I nearly didn't make it back. I got back. I got back got home on the Saturday. I was supposed to have been home for about 2 weeks before she was born. I got back on the Saturday. My wife went into hospital on the Sunday for an elective cesarean on the Monday.
Fucking hell.
So I had to come back from that to the birth of my daughter.
So your emotions would have been shot to ribbons.
Yeah. And I had to suppress it all.
And how long did it take before it surfaced? I mean, you mentioned, 2016. I'd imagine
9 years.
Yeah. As you were going through your learning and your studies to get where you are now, did you use yourself as a guinea pig?
I think in some ways I probably did, yeah. I mean, I was, on the outside, my wife knew because she could see me changing. And in 2016, I was I was a shell. As my wife told me after, we had a barbecue at our old house before we moved here. Her mum came around, her aunt and uncle and the rest of it. Her mum, before she left, said, "Is he okay? Because there's nothing there. There's nothing." And I wasn't. I was just, I was retreating further and further inside, and I couldn't hide anymore. I'd reached that tipping point where I could mask it. I couldn't mask it anymore. And at that point, I actually moved out for 6 months because I knew I was just making everybody else fucking miserable.
That's a hard choice to make.
Oh, it fucking broke me. for the first month after that, I was just, yeah, fucking hell.
Jesus Christ. So what? And I don't want to use. I nearly said what snapped you out of it, because that is definitely the wrong expression.
No, it's fine. No, look,
But no,
I'm
it is. It's
genuinely
not
all
something.
good now.
Yeah, but I mean, that expression, what snapped you out of it, makes it sound like it's a quick fix, and it's
Well,
definitely not.
no, it's not a quick fix, but there is an element of kind of that moment where you go, fuck, I can't do things like this anymore. There is that moment of, fuck. You know, so the lights come on and the generator starts going again. That's kind of, yeah. So there is the kind of a moment like that where you go, fucking hell, Jesus Christ, I need to wake up. I've been running this, making this same mistake for far too long now.
I need someone to listen to you. Really, the way I try to explain it to people is, um, everything's temporary. Nothing's
Yeah,
permanent. Everything is permanent
yeah,
is death. You committing suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. It's the way I've had it explained to me on the courses I've done, stuff like that, and I agree. But when I look deeper into it, everything is temporary. Everything's temporary. Nothing's set in stone. You know,
no,
one day you will get better, because you are the worst. At the moment you're feeling that bad, you've already been in the worst place that you can ever be. So the only place you can get is better. Is that a bad
yeah.
explanation?
No, it is, and it's people have to get to we all have to get to that. If we're in that shit state, we all have to get to that point where we have run this self-sabotaging for long enough that we go, I can't do this anymore. I've got to do something different. There has to be this internal driver to want to change and to get better. Not to be who we used to be, because we can't. That's impossible. But we can be the new and improved version, because we're stronger, we're wiser, we're smarter, we know how to do things differently and better because of how we fucked things up in the past. And that, I think, is fantastic, because we have that ability to do it, but we've just got to get to that point that, fuck, I can't do this anymore. What can I do differently?
So with your resilience training, for want of a better word,
Yeah.
how do you? So someone comes to you,
Yes.
it was in a bad way. How do you get them to stay that within themselves and commit to the resilience, or you explain to them what is the resilience, what resilience is?
So the first thing I do with anyone, whether it's for therapy or coaching, is I teach something I developed as part of my PhD,
Right. Okay. The immediate
which
check process. Yeah.
which is 3 simple self-regulation techniques that were beautifully described to me by somebody who came in a course years ago as extraction tools to help you pull your head out your ass. Which, and I
Yeah.
cannot for the life of me remember who said that, but it's just a beautiful description.
Yeah.
They are based on around the neuroscience of the frequencies our brain operates in, the different functions that we can perform at different speeds of operating, taking us how that takes us from fight or flight into normal rational logical thinking. So it interrupts that. It initiates the parasympathetic nervous system to calm us down by interrupting the negative vortex of shit that's spinning in our head, so that that takes us from that high speed angst ridden state, because you can feel it, because your heart rate and breathing and blood
So is that
pressure are,
what some people describe as the chimp brain?
yeah, exactly, interrupts that. Yeah, so it gets you down into what we're in now, so that you can go, ooh, okay. And then the next step takes you down even lower into that daydreamy, dribbly state where, you're on autopilot, but in a more of a neutral state than. And then from that neutral state, you can then go. The third step is a basic, very simple anchoring technique to anchor that calm, relaxed, mental and physical end state of doing that second step, you anchor the output of that to a simple anchor so that you can access that whenever you want or need to.
Okay, so it's like, yeah, so it's like behavioural therapy almost.
It's far more effective than CBT.
Yeah,
because it's multi-layered.
And again, there's lots of therapies out there, treatments. It's not a one fit all.
No, there are things like I'm a firm believer. I mean, the world leading experts in trauma all agree that trauma treatment needs to be tailored to the individual rather than shoehorning people through one specific process. And there are ways of doing things that enable people to utilize different modalities in the right order for them. But more often than not, the majority of people get the benefit of counselling in CBT once the hard work's been done and the emotional content has been dealt with, so that they can then talk about things and think about things without being overwhelmed.
Yeah, get that.
If you do it the wrong way around for someone and get them to think and verbalise all the things they're trying not to think about, all you do is make them worse.
Because they're just going to think about him.
Yeah, and when you talk about it, it makes it feel real.
I get that. But I was always of the understanding that, we always say it's good to talk. But you're right.
At the right time.
At the right time, yeah. So, again, talking about what we were earlier, before we started, and you get that, let's talk about it. And yeah, I've got what you're saying now, because you have got and I think you might have got it the wrong way around, and again, picking the scab all the time, type of thing, and you getting it out of time and out of context just makes it deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah, without healing the wound.
Yeah.
All you're doing is,
like you said, it's finding out what does heal the actual wound. It's getting
if you keep picking at it, a wound gets gangrenous if you don't heal it. We don't want that.
The analogy I always try to use with people as well. If you leave the scab alone, it heals without a scar. Or a very
there are some things that can be done to deal with the underlying infection, if you like.
Yeah. I mean, there's loads of different therapies out there. I spoke to a guy called Kevin James a few months back, and he does therapy through diving. And the way they look at it, or the way they say it, the cortisol, when there's trauma, there's cortisol formed on the brain, and it doesn't go away. And they're using, I suppose it's more like hyperbaric therapy.
Hyperbaric treatment is really good.
Yeah, well, they're doing it through diving out in the Caribbean, because they're not allowed to go deep in the UK where they go, and they take them down and keep them under. So it's almost like getting a bend, and it destroys the cortisol. That's a bit sciencey for me and a bit over my head. And I've spoke to other diving people who've gone, what? I thought I was talking complete horseshit. But I don't know. There's lots of psychotherapy. There's hypnotization, hypnotherapy. Fucking, I can't even speak now.
No, hypnotization's a much better word than hypnotherapy. Is so boring.
I've just invented my own language.
I like it though. I'm now going to say I'm a hypnotizationist.
Yeah, it seems to be very effective for people, and I've known people go through it for the wrong reasons. I want to quit smoking. I'm afraid of growing cars and stuff like that. They're doing it for phobias, and I've never actually seen anyone it work on. I've known people who've gone it for therapy, and it's helped them, but I find it hard. Every time I think of something like that, I just think I'm gonna go to sleep, wake up, you're a fucking chicken, and I'm going to be fucking doing silly noises all around the office.
No, there's two schools of hypnosis. That you've got the stage and the entertainment side, and you've got the therapeutic side. The essence of how you get somebody into that state of mind to make them malleable and open to suggestion. Some people are more open to it in quicker than others. Some people take a bit more work.
How effective is it?
Extremely effective. Yeah. It's just if you think it's a crock of shit and you go to a hypnotherapist, it's never going to work, because you'll fight them all the way. It's the same, and it doesn't matter what therapy it is. If you think it's bollocks, it will never work.
Yeah, you've got to be open-minded.
Yes, you've got to invest in it. You've got to have trust and faith and belief in it.
You've got to want to get better.
Yes, the essence of it is you've got to want to get better, and you've got to try a variety of different therapies in order to find the one that's the right one for you to start. Once you start making progress, then that opens up a lot more options, because then your mind is open.
And I mean, how do we go about getting people to want to get better? Because there's always going to be, and the sad, again, we spoke about this before we started. Us being veterans are very veteran-centric, and we concentrate on the negativity quite a lot. And rightly so, don't get me wrong. We're advertising the fact that guys are taking their lives on a regular basis, right? And we are only a small cohort of the country, of the population. But we're nowhere near the highest on the list. Builders, primary school teachers, females. That really shocked me. That did.
Yeah.
The fact that they were the highest on the list. I was just like, really? And then when you think about it, the way society deals with everyone now, and there's issues with everyone, and with mental well-beingness and everything like that. But how can you convince someone that they need to get help in reality?
I think
that's a hard thing to do.
It is. It's harder with some people than others. Some people fight you tooth and nail because they're so entrenched in their and so comfortable in their bubble of misery and shit that being outside of that feels uncomfortable. It's a bit like, you're so used to being cold, wet, tired, and hungry that when you feel comfortable, you go, sure, there's something I must be doing.
Yeah.
I must need to do something. I can't relax. You can't relax because you think there's something you need to do because you're not cold, wet, tired, hungry.
Yeah, I get that. So you end up in your own, let's call it a vegetative state, really. But I think when some guys they get to the point, like you said earlier, that all of a sudden there's clarity, and it's the only way out. And it's hard to try and get someone back from that.
It can be, but then this is. I say people shouldn't talk before they're ready, but people know when they're. If you say to somebody, "Oh, do you want to talk about it?" And if they say no, it's okay. Well, what do you want to talk about? Talk about anything else. Don't force people to talk about what they don't want to talk about. Talk about football. Talk about rugby. Talk about what they're going to have for dinner. What do they like doing? What have they got a dog? Well, talk about anything that gets them talking. Because once you get people talking and ask them more and more questions about themselves, the more people open up, the more they'll divulge. And there'll be a tipping point that they won't even realise they're doing it, and they'll just start talking about it.
And when that happens, when you're treating someone,
yeah,
how do you feel? Does it give you a slight elation that relaxing there,
Yes. Yeah. It's humanizing people. Yeah. Be friendly, be nice, encourage it, listen more than you talk. Ask them only talk more really to kind of reaffirm what they're saying, or to paraphrase, or to go, I'm not sure about that. Have I got this right? Is this this is what I think you said. Is this what you meant, or am I misinterpreting that? Because things like that will get them, it's elicitation techniques. It gets them to talk more and to clarify more. And the more they open up, the harder it is to stop opening up. And they'll just start talking about the stuff that they didn't want to talk about.
Yeah, been there, done that. Honestly, yeah. And all they asked was, what are you here for? That was the only question. What are you here for? And I sat there for about 10 minutes. This was with the doctor, and I sat there for about 10 minutes. And you know what's like the GP? You get half hour at the max. type of thing. Normally a 15-minute appointment or whatever. And I looked up and she was looking at her watch. And I said, "Oh, sorry." She goes, "No, it's all right." She goes, "But there's about 4 patients out there going to be pissed off at you." And I was like, "Well, I've only been here a few minutes." She goes, "You haven't. You just went, blah, and it all come out." And I don't know what I told her. I told her nothing. But it was that release. And it was such a, I wouldn't say a relief, but it kind of was.
Yeah.
You know, I went home and felt lighter. Yeah, I felt lighter. And I hope that we can encourage people to doing that. You know, when for their own sake. I won't say sanity because that's a bad word, but for their own sake, really.
Yes, with when they feel ready to talk about it. If somebody talks about stuff and they get too overwhelmed in the process of doing it, then distract them and talk about something else. The sooner you can distract and divert onto something else, the better. Then you reduce that overwhelm and you disengage that fight or flight system.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, fucking hell. It's you know what? It's given me quite a lot to think about, actually. Not for myself, but for other people. Because sometimes how can I put it? You know, with doing this podcast, you try and eke things out of people. Sometimes I feel as though I shouldn't have asked them that question or that question. But then again, the chimp in my head goes, well, they wouldn't be coming on here if they didn't want you to ask that. But sometimes I feel guilty for asking certain questions. Can sometimes drag more out of a person than they're willing to say or willing to admit. And I've seen it happen. Like you see, when I've had people on a podcast that come out and talk about one thing and I'm talking about something completely different and divulge things that I'm thinking, really? Yeah, maybe I should have done human in. I don't know. I mean, I spotted you on TikTok, and I know you've got a YouTube channel. How did you get into that side of things?
Really, just as another means of getting stuff out there.
And have you had much feedback on it?
TikTok's been one of the more engaging. Facebook, I think, these days for me is about as much use as mudflaps on a canoe. Really,
It's hard work.
Yeah, I don't.
It's really hard work.
I used it more. Really, I put everything I do on everything that I have. But it's really, Facebook for me is really just a way to stay in touch with people these days. It's a pain in the arse. Meta are a fucking pest.
I mean, I use it to recruit. You know, I wouldn't say I'll stalk people, but I'll find people on Facebook and I'll approach them on that and this, that.
Yeah.
And TikTok's been I started on TikTok 2 years ago, watching people dancing and lots of women advertising OnlyFans pages. I like that algorithm. I'm not getting that one anymore. All I get now is veterans things. I'm like, oh, where are they gone? The Chinese knew me well. But it's been a bit of an eye opener. I must admit, TikTok, it has been an eye opener. There is communities within communities on there, and there's some dregs of society as well, where everyone's a keyboard warrior in the end. But you're right, the social media side of things can be quite. YouTube's. It's like I started on Spotify, and I'm trying to push towards YouTube a bit more now, and it's hard work. I see everybody else doing better than me, and I'm not jealous much.
And, and they all have different algorithms, and it's hard to figure out. But
yeah, it really is. I mean, what's your plans for the future then?
Well, I've just rejigged. This year, last year I moved to a new platform for my online training courses, and I've rejigged the way it's done. I've rejigged the content. I've upgraded things. So this year has been getting that squared away, and now delivering the courses in a new format. The immediate care process is now a one-day training up front where I teach the techniques up front, and then there's online theory to support the techniques, and with some coaching techniques and some useful psychological tools, etc., and on the underpinning theory of how and why these techniques work, etc. Plus some crisis skills and crisis communication skills. for those. So that's for people who are going to be using it with other people, have the intention of using it with other people. But
like
also I teach.
trainer.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So there is a trainer piece. There's a friend of mine in Hull who I delivered a course for a couple of weeks ago, who's now going to be an associate trainer and start delivering this training in his area. And the intention is to build that network around the UK.
Do you get people referred to you from, like, say, Op Courage and places like that?
Sometimes, yes, I get referrals from the NHS. I don't these days I haven't had anything directly from Op Courage. But I do therapy by referral only these days.
Yeah. So if somebody just contacted you out the blue, you'd be like,
if I can't, it depends on whether if I think I have, the scope to be able to do them justice. And if I can't, then I'll still engage, and I'll say, look, where are you? And I'll find out where they are, and I'll try and find the best resource possible that's closest to them.
Yeah.
And if they can't find anyone, then I'll go, look, right, this is how I can do it from here. Because I'm in the arse end of nowhere. I'm in North Aberdeenshire, so
that isn't it? That's all.
It's a fecking long way up.
Yeah.
It's a long drop.
Yeah, I think that's about the limit of my circle on Tinder that I'm swiping for. I won't go any further.
It's a fair old schlep, mate. To be honest.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially like from me. I mean, and anyone, the French people below me.
Yeah,
everyone.
I'm 3 hours to Edinburgh from here.
Jesus, yeah, Christ. But nice and remote. I tell you what, you sounded more and more like a spy in hiding.
I think I am in hiding, really, in hiding in plain sight. I like the quiet life.
I don't blame you. I wish I had one. It's fairly quiet, but it can get a bit hectic sometimes. Right, well, we've been on for an hour and 45 minutes. I bet you didn't expect that.
I just go with the flow. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm on the spot to say thank you for coming on. I wish you all the luck with your online presence and your teaching, helping people and providing services in the future. Is there any advice you'd like to give anyone before we go?
Well, I think on the back of, I think you probably saw that video I put out after my two mates had taken their own lives. I think if you're feeling like that, if you're struggling, it is better to talk to someone. You don't have to spill your guts straight away, but if you're feeling that bad, speak to someone. Speak to your closest mates, because they'll, if they're anything like mine, in the midst of having compassion, they'll take the piss out of you, which will make you laugh. And if they can make you laugh, they've changed your state, and you can't be in that suicidal frame of mind and laughing your ass off at the same time. They're two vastly different states. So speak to your best mate, speak to your family. It takes courage. It's a leap of faith. I get that. But please do it.
Yeah, that's a good message to end on. So I'll stop the recording here. Again, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, mate. Thank you very much.
I wasn't expecting the story that you had. I really wasn't. I was like, fucking hell. I'll take it you're going to write a book.
So it's in the plan. Yeah, it's in the plan.
I think it'll season 6 of it'll be a good one. Right, I'll stop the recording there again. Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure.
Stop. I hope you enjoyed that podcast. I enjoyed recording it. If you could just hit the like button, and also if you could subscribe and hit the notification bell, that'd be great, because it'll help the channel grow. The more people will see it, the bigger it'll get, and the more guests I can get on, and the more people I can talk to. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, like I said. Look forward to the next one. Hopefully we'll be out next week as normal. Bye-bye now.